December 1st, 2022. The first item on the agenda is do you like the motion to open the hearing if we're doing the continuing?
Motion to open.
Okay. Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay, the first item on the agenda is a continuation for 110 Florida Ave. Is the applicant present? Either in person, you could just come to the desk up here or through Zoom.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. And I will tell you, my camera's not working tonight. So I'll go be the mystery guest.
That's okay, Peter. Okay, it does not look like the applicant's here, so I recommend that the board make a motion to continue it till later in the evening, in case he arrives. Move on to the next.
Okay.
So we're gonna continue. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Close. Okay. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is 180 Patricia Ave, which is another continuation. Applicants is Tara Damiano.
Damiano, that's okay, that's all right. I'm used to it.
Thanks for coming in again.
Well, thank you both for taking your time out of your schedules for the meeting.
Just a quick overview, how it was left as the hearing was continued. Some members were going to go to visit the site. We vetted it pretty thoroughly at the last meeting, and that's where we're at.
Okay. So I believe it was, I obviously went and met with both of you, which I appreciate you guys making the time and opening up your home, obviously, to
Happy to.
walk us through everything. And Brian, you went too then.
Right,
So I think it was just me and you that went separate times. but-
yeah. It strikes me that the topography is an issue with this particular lot, and it strikes me that it is, although it affects the neighbor, it's more pronounced perhaps on their lot.
Yes,
So it does seem like it's a topography issue. It also, in looking at where the neighbor has a structure, pretty tall, 7 foot, it's taller than me anyways.
there's also concrete wall, there's all a CMU wall running the whole,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
and that's right up to the line, and the fence is, my understanding is it's the neighbor's fence with a privacy screen, but behind that concrete wall, and the privacy screen is, looks like it's been there for quite some time. So, my suggestion would be that we allow the variance subject to, that privacy screen, I know it's not your screen, but if it's ever, the neighbor removes it, you guys put up a comparable fence,
Happily.
that the property remains fenced at the current level, I think it's 7 feet.
Mhm.
And that the existing wooden, I think you're gonna remove it anyway. because
Yes.
It's gonna fall over anyway.
Yeah,
that's what you guys were saying, right?
well, yes, the demo permit will be pulled tomorrow
So
for that, so,
that goes away in my mind.
yes.
And then Jim, this is a question for you. Can we condition this on that the variance doesn't? It remains with, does it run with the land or does it end with their ownership?
The variance would run with the land.
Okay, so you can't say that if that structure was torn down 25 years from now, whatever, that they would by right have the ability to reconstruct. Is that accurate or?
Yeah, they would have the rights to access or reconstruct to the relief that was granted. As long as they go through the proper steps at that time with the building commissioner.
I think special permits, yeah, that's typically where it's just particular owner.
Yeah, so that, I think that is a fair compromise, because it is a topographical issue for them. That's clear, and the neighbor has already constructed something perhaps a little bit more unseemly than this structure would, and I don't think the only neighbor that would be impacted already has the 7 foot wall that and satellite dishes on top of it, so.
No, I agree. I think that, and also it was great to see it because when we were kind of last meeting talking about on the side of the lot, once you go there, you're like, oh, that would be a terrible location to have the
Yeah.
shed, because then it would definitely, all the neighbors would see it, and
Yep.
it's in front of the bedroom windows, like you were saying. So, that sounds reasonable to me. I mean, I don't know if you wanted anything else, like it's only to be a shed for storage purposes, condition or
yeah.
anything like that, you could.
Whatever, whatever the board thinks is appropriate.
Okay.
And another reason, we didn't make it permanent and ask for a concrete structure, so we could potentially have the option to take it with us in the future, because it's a big investment for us as well. So, we're fine with however it needs to be worded.
Okay. No, but I agree with you, Brian.
So should we make a motion to close the hearing? And then you can deliberate, because we have to close the hearing and then you take your vote.
Well, unless there's anybody from. the
Unless there's
audience that
anybody
wants
from
to
the
do it.
audience or even on Zoom.
All right, so I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any action of the board?
Yep, so I don't know if anyone, there's any other additions or conclusions or anything? And just for the record, just because I know that we have a number of people here that have variance petitions before us, just to hit on the topics that were, that we went through. The hardship to me is flowing from the topography of the soil. And there is no other location for this to be, played. So I think that satisfies the hardship and the topography requirements. I don't think it's out of character for that neighborhood. Is, like I said, that already that other neighbor who has the similar situation already there. So that's my analysis of the neighborhood.
Right, so it satisfies the three points for variance criteria, the having hardship, whether financial or otherwise, and financial or any substantial hardship. And the second one was the topography that you touched on, Brian, and then the third one is that it doesn't have an effect to the whole neighborhood, right?
Right. And the hardships flowing from the topography. It's not a hardship.
It's not a self-created hardship.
Right, it's flowing from the unique aspect of that piece of property.
Right, the existing conditions of the property. Thank you for visiting the property and confirming it.
No problem.
Yeah, I think, I think both of you that it definitely, you obviously put a lot of thought into it, and it really does. It's really the logical location to have the shed.
Well, that's what we came up with too, because we did try, because we didn't want to have to come before, you guys and have a
Oh,
variance
sorry.
or anything.
Yeah,
The
no
discussion.
discussion now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you wouldn't know that it's just the board now and the board simply deliberates, it takes the vote and no more discussion at this point.
Thanks.
So if we're ready for a vote,
I'll make a motion to grant the variance with the stipulations that Brian had mentioned, which are, should the fence go down, it would be rebuilt at the same height or at least
Yeah,
similar.
It would be, and Jim, you can fill in the blank, but it's a screening 7-foot privacy fence. To be maintained and the existing shed to be removed prior to the construction of.
That was the second stipulation, is that the current shed gets removed. Yep.
okay,
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Jason, we need you to vote because you were here at the first.
Oh, I
hearing.
am this one?
You have to be because you were here during the beginning part of the hearing, yes.
Okay, aye.
Okay,
And we'll have the decision hopefully by next week, and then it's a 20-day appeal period.
Well, is the decision tonight that it's granted, just so I know.
Yes.
All right, yeah, I
Yes,
can
and
pull the demo permit and get going on the rest of it. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, both of
Thank
you.
you.
I mean, all of you, but both of you.
Yes,
I
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
I'll move to the next item on the agenda.
236 Maple Street.
Motion to open the hearing.
So move.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, is the applicant present? Okay. Do we want to make a motion to waive the?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Good evening. Could you just tell us your name and then kind of walk us through a little bit?
Sure. So my name is Adam Wolfley. I'm an authorized agent for AT&T. Brian Martinelli is the applicant, and we work for the same company, Centerline Communications. Brian's located in New Jersey, so he asked me to step in for this hearing and just explain what AT&T is proposing to do. So this is an existing cell site. And what AT&T is proposing to do is they want to install 9 antennas, 9 radio head units, 2 squids, 4 DC cables, and 1 fiber trunk. And they want to put their ground equipment on a 20 by 10 concrete pad that's existing in the cell site. So part of the scope of work involves increasing the height of the tower by 20 feet.
Which is the main item that is in front of us.
Right. So the 20-foot extension does stay within the 64-9 regulations, which is 20 feet is the maximum allowable height for an increase within those regulations. And the purpose of the work is AT&T, they have a gap in their coverage in close vicinity to that tower. And in order for them to fill that coverage properly, they need to increase the height of the tower by 20 feet. And that will allow them to fill that gap in their coverage.
So I guess the biggest item that, you know, of my interest would be, it already had a variance approved previously, where the bylaw states right that 100 feet is kind of the maximum for a cell phone tower.
I don't know.
Is that correct? Jim?
Yep, so it does have an existing special permit that granted for a 122-foot cell tower and is what you see there today. And the request is to further amend that to extend from 122 to 142. So it is, you're right, Mr. Chairman, it is the 20-foot extension that would exceed beyond what was already granted as a special permit. The bylaw does state that the requirement is 100 feet.
So I guess that, yeah, that would be, and I'm sure the rest of the board would want to know that. So you looked at other alternatives that this really, in your opinion, is the best.
Correct.
There's no other.
Locating on a existing tower, I imagine, I guess from your point of view, is a better alternative than building a new tower completely.
So there's a tower that's, I don't know if you're familiar with are you familiar with the area at all?
I am.
All right, so by Market Basket, right across the street from Market Basket, old exit 18. So I would think as the crow flies that these towers are not very far apart from one another. Does AT&T have a presence on that Market Basket tower?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
I'm wondering if there's an opportunity there.
Well, I'll say this before. They hire vendors to do the actual construction and also to get the permits. And before they give out work, they research all their cell sites and where they have gaps in coverage. So I'm pretty sure the tower you're talking about near Market Basket wouldn't allow them to fill that gap in their coverage right now. It might fill part of it, but not the full thing. And the tower at 236 Maple Street allows them to do that.
So we've in my time on the board, we've had one other cell tower that came before the board, and one of the things that we did at the time, and Jim can maybe talk about to me, is they floated a balloon so we could see what the height is from far to get a sense of what that looks like. I feel like this particular tower is pretty well hidden right now. As I said, where's this? And then I was like, oh yeah, there is a tower there, and it was. I feel like the trees are.
It's right along 495 too, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's a pretty blind. I know, I guess it's to me, I guess the balloon's a good one, because to me, it's kind of like. By the letter of the bylaw, it's like, okay, this is a high, it's already gotten the special permit of 22 feet, now you're going another 20 feet. But it might just be something where you're right. If you do the balloon, you go out there, you go, okay, it's not really any more detrimental than what. is
Right.
currently.
Because it's all on scale, like 20 feet pretty, but if you're far away and really people are gonna see it either on Maple Street or 495. And my recollection is that we can't, the federal government has legislated laws that, our discretion is somewhat tied into what we can talk about in these kinds of situations. So I think the first step, before we go much further, would be to have that balloon, something strung up. And the challenging thing is, I remember when we did this, Arnie, I don't know if you remember,
Yeah, I do.
the balloon's always blue, right? It was hard, so whatever you can do to get it. So I can.
So I have photo simulations of what the tower looks like now, and then with the proposed equipment on it. I don't know if that will be helpful, pass it around.
And I guess one question I have is that I feel like on that previous case with the cell phone tower, is this isn't for new carriers, this is for because like a lack of coverage, right? It's because before, remember, they had all those diagrams that kind of showed where there was like blind spots and
Right.
cell phone coverage. So that is that
Watch, yeah.
is that the reasoning that it's to get better cell phone coverage, that through kind of your analytics have shown that there's. Yeah, okay.
And with just for AT&T equipment, it's not expanding the tower for other equipment to go.
It's just AT&T's equipment.
And I know that 20 feet is the maximum that you can ask for. I think that's what you said. Is there some magic to the 20? Is 20 is because that's the most we can get, or is it, well, we can move to 10? That kind of thing.
I think the more height for the equipment will allow it to function better, and it gives it more the ability to fill that gap in coverage better. There's things that can get in the way of the radio frequency signal, and putting it at that height allows those obstructions not to prevent the signal from getting to AT&T's customers.
I'd be interested to know the next time that you come back, what the degradation is in terms of height. In terms of, okay, if we had it at 10 feet above existing, that means the effectiveness is reduced by a factor of whatever. You know what I mean? So that would be good to know.
And then would,
Mr. Chairman, if you mind,
yeah, go ahead, Peter.
do we have any other towers in town reaching this height?
Good question. Is there precedent? Do you know?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I'm also not aware, I'm not aware of it reaching this height. I don't believe so, but we could take a look around in our files.
Yeah, because at one point we did have, it's at the bank actually, Brian, across the Market Basket. That tower, no, excuse me, it was one, but I think it was that tower. That was in front of us not too long ago as well. I forget what it was there for.
If you could look into that as well, I mean, if next time you come before the board, in neighboring towns where it is similar height, that would be helpful.
With similar height,
Yes, what you're proposing.
okay, I mean. When you say surrounding towns, how close are we talking?
I guess whatever.
Tell us where the next one is,
Yeah.
that's as tall as the one you're proposing.
So, I've seen towers in Massachusetts that are 180 feet high. But like, if you're talking about like Franklin or Milford,
Yes.
off the top of my head, yeah, I don't know the heights off the top of my head. I've done work getting permits in those towns with the specific heights of those towers. I don't know off the top of my head. But 180 feet isn't, I would say isn't outrageous when it comes to like a cell tower height.
I have seen some cell towers that are colored and changed to look like trees. Is that at a certain height that they do that, or is that special request?
It's more. It's not a specific height, it's more. It's depending on who's on the tower, allowing them their equipment to function properly. And to hit the gap in coverage that they're intending to.
Right, I've seen some that are, they put green on them and then it looks like a tree.
Yeah, so they call them monopines.
Okay.
We had that before where that one, I think before they talked about that, but then they're saying some people don't want the fake tree. It's better just have it.
I was just wondering if that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
considered. But I did go through Street View and I was looking from the highway and from the nearest neighborhood, everything seemed covered by trees. But I don't know if it was to be increased 20, if it would start being visible to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I agree that having some way to be able to tell from the neighborhood, what if people will start seeing that and if they'd be bothered by it. So if we have a balloon, that would be a good indication. Yeah. That can be as straight as possible. I know we've had that problem before on a windy day, like you had mentioned.
Right,
So maybe
yeah.
if we have 2 tethers, it would help a lot.
Are you thinking, Brian, before the next meeting, if you guys choose to continue it for the January 5th meeting? To get that balloon test done, is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yeah, if that's possible before, the holidays are coming up and I don't know how quickly you can get somebody out there to put something up there. If we meet monthly,
Mhm.
so the next meeting is very early January or early February.
Yeah, I'll see what we can do.
I
So,
have a
but-
question.
I'm sorry to pause the show. We just need to continue it to a date certain, so. If you wanna, I would think February is probably. That'll give you enough time after the holidays to do it. But just something to think about. I'm sorry, Ernie.
That's okay. My question is that, a while back, there was a proposal to put some sort of new antennas on top of the telephone pole that were going to go somewhere near Uno's. And was that still a consideration, or is this,
This is for AT&T.
I believe it was, yes.
I can only speak on this specific cell site. I do work with, those are small cells, which you're talking about. But because I'm not involved in those, I can't really provide any details about that.
So if you could maybe have some information on that for us, whether that would be an alternative solution to this extension.
So I can answer that. It wouldn't, because those antennas that go on utility poles, they only have like a 300-foot range, and the cell towers, the antennas on cell towers, that's like 2 to 3 miles. So it's the range is a lot shorter for the ones on the utility poles. It's, if you're walking by or you're driving by, or you live close to it, it's convenient, but if you're 2 miles away, you won't get any signal from those antennas on the utility poles.
So going back to what Brian was saying, I'm assuming there's an area that's weak that we need the coverage on. Would that be adequate to cover the area that needs the additional coverage?
No. I can answer that for sure. No.
So I guess to what you were saying, Brian, would you want us to continue for till January, or would February be a more adequate kind of time frame to do? Because I think the balloon is a great idea. I mean, I think that would probably answer it for me, just to go out there and see.
How tall are we really talking? Yeah.
I just have one quick one. Is there a flashing light on top of it now? I don't see that in the spec, sort of that below that requirement, or,
I'm not sure.
and then when you put it up, would there be a flashing light? Because that might be. something.
So for the next hearing, we can find that out.
Okay, thank you.
So you're thinking 1 or 2 months? Let's.
So you mentioned like a very valid point about the holidays.
Mhm.
So I would want to reach out to one of my colleagues before I give an official answer, but I can get back to you guys within, I'd like the end of next week. Does that work?
We have to continue it to a date certain. Do you want to put it to February? We could do February 2nd. If that's doable, 2 months out. That would give you time to do the balloon. Let's get that installed or do whatever, and then give the board a chance, or, it's January 5th.
Yeah,
So-
sort of just selfishly, I think that by the time that the balloon is in place,
Mhm.
and then we would have to have an
Mhm.
opportunity to go there and look at it, and then before the meeting, probably not gonna work out with all of the holidays and everything's like already sort of pre-scheduled at this point. So I would suggest, if you're willing to do it on the February, I just think that's more practical.
I hear you. But I think AT&T wants to move forward with the extension as soon as possible.
I think as soon as possible in February, to be honest with you.
So if I say January and then the balloon test isn't done by
Sure,
January
we can-
5th, can we
Mhm.
continue it to February then?
Mhm.
That's a possibility.
Better.
That's doable, if that's okay with the board, January 5th.
So-
Continue.
Motion to continue to next meeting, January 5th.
So
Second. Discussion?
We good?
All those in favor? Aye.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is 38 Victor Street. Applicant and owner, John and Marjorie Turner Hallman. Are they present? You can approach the board.
Motion to open the hearing.
Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Do we want a motion to waive the public?
There.
Good evening.
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye. Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for meeting and thanks for scheduling us. John and Marjorie Holman, 38 Victor Street in Bellingham. Marjorie's been a 40-year resident and has volunteered services with the town, trail running, historical commission, and she's worked for the Bellingham Bulletin for years. The reason we're here, we're requesting a variance on residential lot setbacks in order to build a garage. The Silver Lake District, as you may know, are all non-conforming lots. We're under 2 acres, so anything we do requires a variance. In this case, we both have disabilities. We're in a 25 by 25 foot house with a half loft. It doesn't work. It's literally unsafe. Marjorie can't go up and down the stairs safely. So we either need to move or find a way to make the house work. And one piece of that puzzle is to get all my contractors' tools out of the house. There's 2 rooms full of tools. So one way or another, I need to build some storage. What we would like is a decent sized garage. After laying it out in the lot and having ADC septic for the lot and give us an idea of where we need to put a septic system eventually. What we figured out is the 50 by 100 foot lot really is just too small to make this work and to honor the normal residential setbacks, particularly the 20-foot setback in the rear. So what we'd like to do is push the garage away from the house and encroach on that 20-foot setback as much as possible. And also encroach on the 8-foot side setback if that's acceptable and stay close to 13th Street Drive. The drive function at this point, it's a dead end. It's maintained by the town. And in the wintertime, it's one great big snowbank. The rest of the year, we have 5 neighbors who all store their trash barrels there. So we have 3 abutters who will ever see this. We all get along well. None of them are here today. None have objection. We discussed this with them. They're okay with it. And in deference to the board, I'm a contractor. Some of the things we were thinking about are sight lines, road safety, things like that. We would want to do something with wood siding that looks like it belongs there. But I'm of the opinion that this in no way is a detriment to sight lines. It would get us the space we need. If for some reason the variance is not acceptable, we would be coming back with application for a permit to build within the lot. But it very much ties our hands. We wouldn't have room for an ADA ramp. We wouldn't have room for the parking we need. So apologize if that's long-winded. If there's any questions or comments, we welcome your input.
So but it comes just to a dead end.
It's dead.
Right, where you're, and then I see your plan here kind of shows that it would just have the paving coming off where you could kind of pull over. Would that just be a 1-car garage?
1-car garage. You'll notice to the left of the plan. Right now, we have the house and there is a carport that was built sometime after the original construction 70 years ago. We can just squeak my truck in there, but if we put an ADA ramp in there, that's gone. I have no place to park. So as it is, I use this backyard every single day to load and unload my truck. And so what we're proposing to do is basically make that permanent and put the garage in the back. And there's just enough room to get the truck in here. The neighbors are accustomed to it. We haven't had any issues with that. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, Brian, if you have a question.
Yeah. So just in terms of the variance that you're seeking a
3 feet.
3-foot variance on one side and a 5-foot variance on the other.
I believe it was 3 feet in both.
Okay, so it's 3 feet.
3 feet in
Both
both.
side and the rear one.
And essentially, there's a temporary Connex box there now. I have a contractor jacking the house and started this morning. So that's about 3 feet from the paved lot, and folks are fine with it. Good for what that's worth.
This garage is. I can't do the math in my head, but it's bigger than your house.
Yes, 24 by 30.
Yeah, so.
And part of that is a piece of it would be for physical therapy equipment. I have some gym equipment we can't use because our ceilings are too low. And both I and my wife badly need to have the use of this. Since COVID, we have not left the house to go to an outside gym, so we're not getting, you know, the regular therapy that we need. This is a permanent condition. So I would be able to put 7-foot tall equipment in about a third of this. It would be reserved for that purpose.
Yeah, I don't want to seem insensitive to your condition. We just gotta hit the bylaw lays out pretty clear things that you guys have to hit. Otherwise, we can't allow it. We have some discretion, but we can't. And we have been told, and our practice has been that the variance is something very difficult to get. And it has to be extraordinary circumstances. So, now, I understand that you have a disability, your wife has a disability. There needs to be some sort of hardship flowing from the topography of the soil. The shape, the size, there's something so unique to your particular lot. And the size of a lot isn't a hardship. So that's not, I have a small lot, is not a hardship. So it's gonna be, there's ledge, there's a river, there's wetlands. We can't possibly construct or move it anywhere else. And we need to vary the zoning law just for us to make this happen.
We can't construct something. Well, we're not required to do a septic upgrade, but you know, Dennis Brain has had us on board for 15 years as wanting to get our neighborhood to upgrade. You know, to get sewer on the lot. In the meantime, if we ever sell the house, we'll have to do a septic upgrade. There's not room for a normal septic system and a garage, and maintaining the setbacks in a 50 by 100-foot lot can't be done. So basically, what it's saying is we can't build a garage if we want to do a septic in the future, unless we encroach on the setback. So
there's nothing unique about your particular property that, other than its size.
other than it's small,
I understand the size, but that's not a hardship, and that's not.
other than it's small, and we won't be able to create ADA access. We would have to leave. We would have to leave town.
So that would be something that we would have to satisfy ourselves to know that there's something so unique about your lot, other than its size, that we should vary the zoning laws. And that was kind of what, I don't know if you were here for the first or second person that was before us.
Mhm.
They were before us to the last meeting, and they said, we have the shed, we want to put it in this spot, and they're like, you know, are you sure there's no other options? Is there something? Is there something so unique about your property that you can't do it anywhere else without imposing, you know, changing the varying the laws? And we actually went to their property and said, yeah, oh, you're right, they had a slope and it made sense. So, but we need that to hang our hat on.
Mr. Chairman, if you may.
Layout showing the only available
it's
space
Peter.
for septic.
Oh, just one, yeah, Peter, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, to my fellow board members, I'm not sure if you are familiar with the area or what this lot looks like. It's very, very tiny, and the ease or the access between the two buildings, it's barely a cart path. I personally, I've looked at the property. It's awful close to a big garage back there. I don't see any. I'm stumbling for words, just to bear with me. I think if you were to look at the property, you would understand how tight it is. And one of the questions I have is, there is a storage building just before the house. Does that belong to the petitioner, or is that someone else's storage building?
That's a different property.
Different property, correct?
So Peter, you're saying between the neighbor across the street,
Yeah, I wouldn't call it a street.
because it's oh yeah, 10 feet wide. Well,
Well,
I know kind of the general neighborhood. I haven't gone to your.
forgive me, it's not 10 feet wide. The town maintained road is 23 feet wide. And it's adequate for the neighbors to turn their cars around there. So there's approximately 30 feet between the neighbor's house and the edge of our lot. Okay, the paper road,
That's
Beacon,
yeah.
the fictional paper road that doesn't exist, Beacon Street, goes through the roof of my neighbor's house down the hill. That's 10 feet wide, but Bertine / Victor Street, which is the same, is paved, and it's about 23 feet wide of pavement.
Okay.
So I hear what you're saying. Respectfully, I think there's a little more room there than perhaps is apparent in this plan. That doesn't show the abutters houses.
I guess the question I would have is that, so you were saying with it needs the space for the ADA ramp. But on the drawing you have, it looks like the ramp is accessed via the carport. It looks more like you have the 25 feet setback so that you have the parking for the truck.
Yes,
It seems more like it's for that reason as opposed to for ramp.
well, for
access.
parking and septic, because I have no other place to put the truck once we do the ramp.
But with the septic, where would the allocated space for the septic would be in that 25-foot zone, or would it be?
Yes.
Okay. Because I guess that's the thing that's not as clear on the drawing, because it looks like it's maybe where you had the garden up here, but you're saying this would be reserved for.
That's correct. Yeah, they can do something fairly long and a little skinny. Now, we played with the different layouts. The other option would be to push this back towards the other corner here, and this is we're on a 42-foot, we're the flat top of a 40-foot tall sand esker, a glacial hill left by a river that cuts through the ice. So, you know, it's a hill like this. The neighborhood was built when they planed everything off. There's 3 houses at the top of the hill, and we're surrounded by incredibly steep grades. So the back corner of the lot drops down precipitously. It's not suitable to build anything. So in essence, it's not a usable part of our lot. And in my opinion, that's part of our hardship is we have a tiny 50 by 100 foot site, but I can't use all of it.
So I guess the question I would have, and I think maybe this would be, I'd want to actually go out to see that area, but did you ever explore just an attached garage? Because then I would think like for your needs too, for physical therapy, that would be beneficial.
It would be, it's complicated, like I said, the contractor's jacking our house now to replace beams. The way this house is built. I've been there for 15 years. I'm a licensed contractor, and neither I and my colleagues can figure out how to make this house work and attach something. It's got to be a separate structure. It's a great suggestion to do something.
Is it an
Maybe-
elevation thing about as far as like where your first floor is to get down?
There's
The
that.
transition between.
There's elevation issues. There's also just the way it's framed and structured. And also just the utility of the house, that the back of the house, looks out in the yard. And we would like to preserve that as much as possible. Given it's such a small neighborhood. So we're bounded on this side and on the back by deep woods. So that's the attraction. We've got turkeys and deer and whatnot up there, and I kind of hate to.
So I guess I'll just cut to the chase. For me, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but we need to articulate, okay. The hardship is owing to the circumstances relating to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land. Especially affecting such land or structures, but not generally affecting the area or district in which your house lives. We need to answer that. So far, you haven't given us, we can't hang our hat on that. We don't want to say no, but we need to check the box. So oftentimes, and again, this is just me, and I'm not trying to be, not looking for reasons to say no, but we do need to check the box. Oftentimes, if people are just learning about the requirements when they're before us, we give them another opportunity to come back after they've familiarized themselves with the requirements and how maybe they can reconfigure what they're asking for to fit into what we want to do.
Sure.
And the thing that I'm trying to be mindful of is, I understand it's only 3 feet, right? You're looking at 3 feet. This structure is bigger than your house, so.
If we can shrink it, if that's what's needed.
And if it's just so you want to keep your sight line, where you can look into the woods, that doesn't hit it.
No.
And it won't hit it. So, and I'm speaking for everybody, and I shouldn't be, but if you want an opportunity to come back after you've thought about it, we're happy to give it to you. Otherwise, if we have to vote and we're not satisfied that you get the variances, and we say no, you can't come back for 2 years.
Okay.
We don't want to do that.
Is there a particular language I need to satisfy? Is that in the CMR, or is that a town criteria?
It's in the town bylaws. So it's there's 3 kind of criteria. So I guess, Jen,
You would too.
if you don't mind, what is the exact relief then they would be seeking right now for the setbacks? Because it'll be 2 setbacks, right? The side and the
Side and the rear.
rear.
Right, so we're looking at so that would be actually something for clarification. Is it the rear of the property or the front of the property? I know it's a unique area, but looking at the plan itself, it appeared that the garage was facing closer to the paper street of Beckman Street. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's what we consider the side setback. We've had a survey done. The rear is the furthest from the house, if that makes sense to you.
Right, okay. So
Thank you.
So the Beckman would be actually, in terms of the zoning bylaw, Beckman would be your frontage that you're gaining. That would be your front setback, and the sides are the short end, the 50-foot lot lines. And so with that, the relief being sought, if you're leaving 3 feet on either side, the requirement is 15-foot setback on the side. So we're talking about 12 feet of relief there. And being in the agricultural zone, it's actually a 30-foot front setback, which would be a 27-foot front setback relief.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, because if I'm reading the plan right, Jim, as well, this garage is actually sitting on a frontage, correct?
Yes, if you consider the street the then
That's the front, yes,
yes,
okay.
you're correct.
That's correct, yep.
Okay, under chapter 240-33. Bellingham, November 6, 2022, the frontage is less than 125 feet, it's a 100-foot lot. What I'm reading, and I may have the wrong paperwork here, the frontage setback normally would be 20 feet and the side would be 8 feet. I heard reference to 30 and 15. I don't know. I've highlighted the ones that are pertinent here.
It does look like it shows on the site plan that is submitted in the back of them, which looks like you have this done by the surveyor.
Yeah, this was done when I first moved in and we were looking to get a septic done.
So he does make reference to, just like Jim was saying, where it says zoning agricultural required proposed.
Right. And you can see, you can see the boundary of the adjacent number 50. So you raised valid points. This educates us a bit. If acceptable, we'd like to continue this and come back. Have a chance to review the variance criteria and see if we can't satisfy those requirements a little more succinctly.
We don't like to say no to anybody, just so you know, it's just variances are just by the nature of what the relief requested is difficult. We're not trying to give you a hard time.
Ryan, do you want to come to do a site visit like you, because I know you had referenced that the back of your property was very steep. Is that something you guys would want to do between now and the next hearing? I don't know, because you did reference that the back of your property was very steep.
Yes.
I don't know if that, but
If I can address that, I think it would be very helpful for the board to see this property.
Mm.
I have seen it, but I think it'd be very helpful for the board to see it.
okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So
Do you want to come back in January or February?
I'd like to do January if that works. If you think so, get out there.
And then maybe you can contact.
absolutely, we can coordinate. One of the members could come and visit.
So we need a motion. Motion that will be in January 5th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Great,
All right.
thank you, we appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Next item on the agenda is 78 Mendon Street. Applicant and owner is Kai. And I apologize, I'm sure. Yeah, if you could approach the board.
Have the system.
And I guess, motion to open the hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then we'll just motion to waive.
I'll make a motion to waive it. Waive the reading.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us here. We are here for a special permit.
Could you just give us your name?
Oh, yes, my name is Chak Chai, real Sakun Chai. You can call me Chai if you like to.
Okay,
Yeah, my name is Lakana Conti. I'm assistant and a partner.
so your property is right across from the Pete's Bluebird pretty much, and then the bead store is.
This
Okay.
store is my store.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yes.
Good for you. Okay. Yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're.
Yes, so looking for to convert our garage into a small commercial kitchen. A kitchen without the dining room. Basically, we do business online, mostly delivery orders. There'll be no walk-ins, no customer coming to the front door.
And what is, it's food service, right?
Yes.
It's a food service. I don't know if you ever heard about like ghost kitchen or cloud kitchen,
Oh, yeah.
that type of the kitchen.
I'm not hip at all.
What is?
And, kitchen.
Oh, but basically it's a restaurant without the dining room. So there's no customer sitting in. It's business mainly, like I said, delivery. Customer order from their phone. They can also call to the kitchen. We get the order, we prepare, we cook the order, we send out the drivers, delivery drivers. We also schedule time for pickup.
Yes, for like Uber Eat or
So
Grubhub and all that.
Grubhub, DoorDash, or Uber.
Do any of your, so if someone orders the food, though, they wouldn't themselves personally come to the location, but like a Uber or a Lyft.
Right. So they will say,
Or you would deliver.
once the order is ready for delivery, we let the company know, they will send out the drivers.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a schedule of time to come.
So like an Uber driver would,
Yes.
so you wouldn't have your own staff drive?
Well, we plan to have 1 or 2 our own drivers as well.
So. When I was reading your application, I was thinking to myself in terms of how the business would operate and. The turnover that the business would necessarily generate to make it sort of. Is it going, if, I would imagine it has to be a pretty high turnover of. Deliveries being made, I think, right? Because that's,
Yes.
there's no one coming there. So it's gonna be. Several, an hour, or you have a sense of how. Frequently orders would be. You know, drivers coming in to pick it up or drivers leaving to deliver.
Well, it's just gonna be 2 or 3 people in the kitchen, really. So the turnaround, we can't do it just like a real restaurant, like have a bigger kitchen. Because our kitchen will be like small, kind of like big size.
Yeah.
Because it's just the garage. Would say probably like what, 10 to 15 per hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like it, yeah.
Because we
It
use,
depends on the time of the day too. Lunchtime will be busier, and then busier again, maybe like a dinner time after 5 o'clock. Yeah, we plan to open not more than like 10 hours a day.
Right, your property is set back, right?
yeah, yep.
If you have adequate,
yeah.
if we have 3 cars that are going
That's the
in. 2 coming
picture
in.
of the property. Yeah,
thank you.
So see the garage is way back in the
Yeah.
end. And the front, we planning to make them to pave them all. I mean, some part will be grass too, just for the car can, come in and then go out to the other way. That way they don't have to back up or anything, for safety. Close.
And then the other question I had on the application was, will there be odors generated? And I don't mean odors in an offensive way, but kitchens generate smell.
Yeah.
Restaurants smell, and I'm curious if that smell, and I know you're right across the street from a restaurant.
Yes, right.
But do you have some sort of API system that would handle that? Or
Yeah, well, commercial kitchen, there will be a system, is good and ventilation system that will filter smell
And smoke and all that.
Yes.
I know, like, if sometimes I go to, the Stop and Shop at the next exit up. And I go to the Starbucks there,
Yeah.
I get out of the car and it always smells like Chipotle. It's like, oh, I want Chipotle. Because the smell of the restaurant fills that parking lot. And I know that's a much bigger facility. But I wouldn't want to live next to something like that. Where I bought a house and now that house is a restaurant and there's this constant odor of, and maybe it smells great, but it's still not what not what I bargained for.
I guess my question would be, what is the general zoning of that area? Because I know you have the Pete's Bluebird, but it feels just very residential.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, Tim, if you know.
Sure. So that's a business district. So a couple of years ago, you issued a home occupation to next door, the bead store. It's a business district. They live in the dwelling as well as having a business in there, which is allowed under your special permit to occupy, to have an accessory to the primary, which is residential, because it's in the business district. I think, so they came to me originally, and, so to answer your question, Brian, they do have to have a commercial, it has to be all commercial kitchen. The Ansel system, hood, there are filters on the hood, how much it filters out, it's not really a filter system, it's more to catch the grease before it gets up into the vents. But, like Pete's Bluebird, in the business, it's gonna smell the same way, I'm sure. In that, as far as that goes, but I did inform them that they're gonna have to demonstrate, to be able to take the people that are coming and safely in the driveway, whether they create a turn, an in and out, just like the bead store next door, they created a safe area to pull in, turn around and leave safely. So I explained to them that they would have to demonstrate to the board what their plan was to do that. That was, I did inform them that you were gonna be, definitely inquiring about how they were gonna do that.
Did I miss what is the property zoned?
Business.
It is business. And will the applicant be living in the residence there as well?
Yes,
You live next door? You would be living
separate property.
So could you tell us a little more how the paving would be to Tim's point, how that would be
I
done?
have the drawing in there, right, in
In the packet.
the package, and
Oh, this is, okay. Is that the amount of paving that you're looking to do? Because I didn't really understand what that was at first when we got the packets ahead of time, but this is what you're referring to, right?
Yeah.
So are you proposing to pave more or less the entirety of the
the front of the house.
Okay.
Just so we have enough for the 4 cars to drive in and then drive out the other way.
So I don't know, I guess the only concern I would have there is that I guess you're really creating like a full paved parking area that kind of aesthetically has an impact to, right now, it looks just like a house.
Yes.
If we do that, then it's very much just like paving all across the whole thing, and then it's kind of like, is it this funky condition where you have like a big parking lot right in front of the house?
It's just
Because that's I guess my concern, or what I wonder is that street is a little unusual, that's why I was asking how it's zoned, because to me, it feels like a residential street that has the Pete's Bluebird and some of the stuff, and which is okay, but I just asked, myself, do we want to further create this, even though it's zone business, this nonconformity that you get a domino effect, then all of a sudden you get all these businesses start lining up down the street.
So to answer your question on that, there are several businesses on that street, a couple of doors down, there's a whole commercial complex where they rent all different kinds of office suites. They have a large parking lot. It used to be Debbie's Steakhouse. A little bit north of there is Cranes 101. So it is in kind with the neighborhood because it's always been B district. So there are other parking lots, similar to it. A couple of doors down, like I said, there's a big one. Pete's Bluebird is across the street. Yeah, her area in the front is rather small. That picture may look like it's a big parking area, but I would have to say it's probably under 2,000 square feet of space that she's probably proposing there, because her front yard is not that big, just so you know. But next door, the bead store, they did a nice job with the parking area. It functions the way it should,
Yeah.
So I know that's her property. And is this your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it is a smaller area, but
Cause I remember, I mean, you were here too, right, Brian?
Yep.
When that was in,
Yep.
yeah.
yeah, they did a nice job with that.
They did.
Okay.
Very good.
And I guess my biggest question would be with the neighborhood, just any of the other, once we open it up to the.
I was gonna say there might be some comments.
All right, should we open it up?
Mr. Chairman, my question too relates to this as well. Is there a requirement for number of parking spaces? Because like the building inspector says, a very small area. Will there be a requirement for X number of parking spaces for this?
Only for seating if it's dining in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll open it up to the public then, so anyone who's either present here or via Zoom, just raise your hand and give us your name and address. Yep.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Marie Salima. I am a lifelong resident of Bellingham and live at 82 Main Street.
And where would that be in relation to?
It
this?
is right next.
Right next door, so you are,
The yellow house?
okay,
So my agenda is simple. I am extremely concerned with the opening of takeout or delivery at 78 zone business, but families living. My further concerns would be safety conditions due to an already existing high traffic area, unsafe conditions of congestion by vehicles entering, exiting 78 Mendon Street, creation of opportunities for accidents through stopping and slowing of traffic. Current speed of traffic is already unsafe in that area. That is a straightaway and is notorious for passing, speeding, and erratic driving. I live there, I see it every day. Noise created by vehicles entering and exiting 78 Mendon Street, parking of vehicles on the street, possibility of blocking my driveway or my view, trying to exit my driveway. So thank you for listening to my concerns and considering my comments.
thank you.
That's, do you have hours of operation that you're proposing?
Yep, so it will be 11:30 in the morning. And we probably will be closing at around 8:30 or 9. Yeah.
And that would be what? Would that be every day?
Every day except for Monday.
And what would there be? There wouldn't really be any signage or anything outside. I mean, just pretty,
There'll be a sign, you'll be planning to have like a enter and exit sign.
just simple, yeah.
Visible.
So in the garage is that gray garage that would be right near the yellow house.
Yes.
And
So,
would there be any exterior changes to the home at all?
well, we're thinking about putting up the fence, just so, you don't have to see all the cars coming in and out.
I would still hear them. And as Brian mentioned, I don't know how it's gonna work with the smell of food, not that it would be bad, but I live across from Pete's and I can smell when they cook.
So I'm assuming that the garage door would be replaced with a wall,
Oh, yeah, will have to be fully functional building with installation and everything.
and with your picture of the parking spot, it looks like there is still some landscape in between the road and the parking. Is that also?
Yes, so also we have to leave some grass areas between, the end of the driveway or the beach store, which is a 74. Will be a.
Well, I mean, between the street and where you're going to pave, is it gonna be?
No, this looks like it's showing you would just have the paving. That's what my thought was to it. It
Well,
looks like it's
I'm
going
saying
right
this,
up to
this
the road.
section here looks like there's still gonna be grass in there between the road and the parking. Is that possible?
Well, if it's required, then we can leave it like that too.
Or
Like
that-
you.
What I'm thinking of, in with regard to that, that might relieve some of your concerns about, site. Trying to get in and out,
Hmm.
and also, aesthetically, it may look a little bit better rather than having the whole thing paved right to the road.
So which means, what do you think about like how big or how wide that it should be, like 3 feet?
Well, the more
on
the more the
front?
better. No, I think 3 feet would be less than adequate.
Okay.
I'm thinking more, a minimum of 6 to 10 feet.
10 feet. So then that means the car will only be like 3 cars that can park.
Right.
Which is, that's probably not a big deal anyway, because we're not having people coming in. So it's just the car come in, pick up and then leave.
How does that physically happen? how do they physically, they got out of the car?
Yeah.
They walk to where?
You walk to the front door of the garage, we will make, you know. like the
They'll knock on the
entrance.
door?
Yeah, but not have to be knocked, you just come in,
Come
pick
in.
up the food that will probably be name and then big counter. And name, and they can just grab, you know, if they have to pay, because some company like DoorDash, they will have to swipe their card there. To pay before they can take the food, that kind of thing, and then just like. Get in the car and then leave.
I think that would, at least I know what I'm struggling with, is we want to maintain, I know it's a busy road,
Yeah.
there's businesses all over the place.
Right.
But there are residential homes that immediately, you know, about yours, so we want to. At least give the appearance of, this still being residential. right?
Okay.
And then recognizing, so paving the whole front yard, that would be, I think, a step too far, you know, in terms of. And, so that would be something I maybe would ask you to maybe come back with another suggestion of how possibly traffic
Right.
or the site traffic, the site flow would work without completely, you know, just sort of keeping a house, but making it a commercial area. And then I would also like to get a sense from you of what it is the orders would be. And I don't know how you do that, to be honest, but that kitchen is right next to the yellow house. It's like
Right.
15 feet,
Yeah.
you know, so, I want to be very mindful of that. And a better sense of peak time. We expect 50, you know, we're gonna have one person that does deliveries. But if you're gonna have 15 visitors to what's essentially a home on 140, you know, every hour, every day, except for Monday, whenever the day, we'll have
Right.
Tuesdays.
So what if, we have another plan to like, because we have the big parking lot already on the 74, which is the beach store. That can fit like 10 car to 15 easily on there and we make a pathway. To that, to pick up the delivery as well. That's another one that. we will-
I would defer to Tim and Jim's
Yeah.
expertise on the legality of that. and what-
Yeah.
what-
We did ask.
What was the proposal?
So, like the car can also park at the 74 and then just walk over, make a path to go pick up their food
Mhm.
at the.
So maybe, you put as a condition that she can only have maybe 3 parking spaces at her spot, maybe? And maybe she could redraw it and come back and, describe, you know, maybe a buffer between the road, I think, Art, was that your, intention?
Yes.
Yeah. You also have to maintain a clear sight view, that it is a straight road, but like you said, you want to be able to maintain no obstruction in the front, so, you know,
Yeah.
if there's a diagram showing in more detail, maybe that's would satisfy the board, you know, if you come
You
back with a.
mean, like the tree need to be cut down and all that?
Yeah, I mean, just, you know, overall, the obstruction part and maybe a landscape in the front and a smaller parking lot.
That just shows where you're gonna have planted kind of area, like grass or
Okay.
some sort of buffer.
And maybe, as far as the kitchen goes, maybe having, the interior, floor plan of the kitchen area, showing maybe the exhaust on your side of the house, not on the outside, closer to the property line, have it exhaust toward the house, you know, the kitchen, the vent, so it doesn't, not to disturb any
Right,
neighbors.
we go to the other
Yeah, maybe
way.
if you come in with a floor plan to show the board, in a little more detail for, their concerns.
So I think another thing that sticks out to me that I'm thinking if I'm the neighbor, there's also light disturbance. I'm thinking that if you have these to the peak times that Brian's saying, it's like, I think I'm at home if I'm her. And then around dinner time, like now it's dark out, all these vehicles are coming and going. You got the ball, you got the noise, you got the headlights that are gonna be shining onto your property. That to me would probably, seems a little bit like it would drive me nuts. If I was, like you're saying, the proximity of her house.
Yeah.
To theirs.
I understand that.
I think something, I guess that's just something I feel like, Cause I'm just thinking like my neighbors, I'm even across from me, I'm just I notice when he comes, they come and go. And I'm just like, if that was like a business and it's constantly coming.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, yeah, my point, I agree with Tim, having the exhaust towards you, that way your abutters aren't as bothered by the smell, although it would probably be very good. But also, what's the maximum number of car spaces you're gonna need on your property?
Yeah.
So you can probably have an estimate of how many cars you're gonna have queuing or waiting in line. We wanna avoid having anyone waiting on the street or near the street or on the sidewalk, near the sidewalk. So is there a way to queue them, maybe with the apps, or do you have a system where you can make sure that
Schedule pickup time, that's what
so it's already being taken care
They're
of?
gonna be here waiting 30 minutes for the order. They
Right.
will be here by after they get the notification. and
So they only show up when it's ready.
Yeah.
There's no queuing and waiting. So that could, I'm sure you thought about this. Seems like you have, that if too many drivers are queuing or waiting ahead of time, they'll show up, even though it didn't tell them, they might show up and wait. And then you have 5 cars in your driveway and stuck, and then, it can create a huge backup. So we really would like to, if you can make it clear how that's gonna be avoided, maybe you can share how the app takes care of that. And if you can guarantee it, I think the neighborhood would be in a better place.
Mr. Chairman, if I may put 2 cents in, the idea or proposal for having these app drivers park at number 74 and walking over, I think it sounds great on paper, but I think in reality, these guys or folks won't really do that. They're gonna pull into the driveway because they want quick in and out.
Yeah.
Also, according to our bylaw of 240-72B, the disturbance to the neighbor, this is right up against that neighbor's house, and I couldn't imagine sitting out there on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday afternoon and smelling the food and having cars coming and going. I think we need to show how it's not going to disturb this neighbor. We're right on that property line. That's a big hang up that I do have.
I think if you come back with a more detailed plan, I think it'd also be helpful to know what you're gonna do in the buffer to her property. What that wall is gonna be, if you're just gonna do a fence, what height is it gonna be? How's that going to
Okay, yeah. So it is a maximum fence that we can put up?
You tell us what your plan is.
7 foot.
7 foot.
7 foot without a spectrum.
So that will be the maximum that we can do, for sure.
I have just one question. If you depend on the other parking lot, but let's say you no longer need that parking lot and you change it later on, we can't base it on the other property.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
No, because it works now because they're under common ownership, but if that one's sold, one stays, it won't work. That doesn't really.
But Peter makes a good point too, that though you have that on paper, are all the drivers really gonna do that?
No, they're gonna.
Yeah,
pull
they're
up-
probably gonna pull
they're
right
on the
up.
side of the road, get out and walk in, because they don't want to deal with the driveway and backing up or turning
Or they're
around.
gonna park right on 140 and run it.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what's gonna happen. I mean.
Well, there is an entrance and exit, so it makes it easy, kind of like just a loop anyway.
I think that,
I think they thought that through.
Okay, so the thing that we need to do, right, is the way to direct the system just to go to the other side. That way it doesn't have a border to border. And then we redo the driveway just so we can maintain the look of the residential in a way, right? And then the fence.
And then and there's a little bit more specifics about the operations and the potential impacts and how your proposal would mitigate those impacts.
Okay.
That would be helpful.
January 5th.
all those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 17 North Main Street. Applicant is Isabella Quintiliani. I'm actually going to accuse myself on this one because I did meet with the applicant and pass their name along to a friend of mine who's an architect that's working with them, but. So I'll leave it up to
Brian. Hello.
Brian.
No, I don't know.
I don't know, I guess you
Oh,
want to
it's
just do this,
Peter's-
or what,
I don't
it would
know.
be Peter.
From Zoom or what?
Yeah, no, I'm good with it.
Good evening. Thank you for meeting with us. My name is Isabella. It's my mom, Jennifer, from South One. We are speaking of special permit for a dog daycare at 17 North Main Street in Bellingham. We think this would be an ideal place for a dog daycare. There's multiple pet businesses within the plaza that we think, will bring benefit to the surrounding businesses. And the building is a bunch of open space for the dogs. And we think that it will be perfect because dogs need places to go during the day and everyone's at work. And
Am I doing?
I'm
No, this, I guess Peter's doing it, right?
No, I actually thought Brian was taking it. I'm sorry.
Oh, all right.
Brian, you being there, it'd be easier if you take it. Sorry.
All right, no problem. So could you walk us through, just like the other prior applicant, if you could walk us through the specifics of your plan?
so I have the architect work right here. So if we look at from this angle, this is the front reception desk. And
Turn that a little bit.
sorry, right here, where it says 190 square feet, this is the front reception desk. And along the side on the left, there's windows that can overlook into the bays, where clients can take a peek in, see other dogs doing during pickup. But it will be a one-way glass, so the dogs can't see owners out, only the owners can see in, because that will cause conflict. If the dogs see their owners, they could react in a negative way. Then we go through this little hall, and there's a bathroom on the left. That won't be open to the public, just staff. And then as we go through the door, there is an area where staff will bring dogs in, and then we have the composite fencing, which is blocking the dogs, so they can be in that area where staff is bringing dogs in. Also, each staff will have a walkie-talkie where everyone will be communicating, saying, okay, like, Billy's here, we're letting him in. Each staff will then have to proceed to, let all the dogs back and let Billy come in. Let all dogs get familiar with Billy, sniff them out, so nothing bad happens. After that, the staff then takes the dog off the leash or the harness. And then in this hall right here, there will be hooks. And each hook will have name of the dog. And they will be, the leash or the harness will be hung up on the hook for the day. And then it will be ready for drop off. So no staff gets confused on what dogs belong to what. And then same concept in the back bays. I have 2 bays, 750 square feet. And there will be only a 10 dog capacity in those bays. And it's the same concept. There's a gate right here on the far left, and then there's a gate on the right. And it's just the same concept, walkie-talkie in, the dog's coming in, let them in, and take the leash and the harness back to the hall and put it on the hook. And then we also talked about having a place for the dogs outside, because 17 North Main Street doesn't offer an outside space. So we were thinking of putting down synthetic canine turf, which is dog friendly. It keeps it more clean, the mud out. And that would be taking up 843 square feet, and only 10 dogs would be allowed out there for a 30-minute ratio at a time. And then we'd rotate through, so no dogs would get bored, because that is like the one thing with dogs, they get very bored easily. So we'd be rotating them through pens, and then this pen for the 2 garage bays in the back, those doors would be locked obviously at all times unless the dogs are going out. And then we would open the garage bay doors for the set of 10 group that is ready to go outside and let them outside. They can run, they can play for 30 minutes, they have their time. And then once they're done wrapping up, we will take the 10 dogs that were in this far right pen, in the back pen, take them over, rotate with this dog, and then these dogs will come into this pen. And they each get 30 minutes outside. It's a nice playtime, but they're not going to be outside all day. It's just 30 minutes broken into a course of day. It could be starting at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They get outside, they have their morning to come in, settle in, 1 o'clock starts, the first group goes out to 1:30, 1:30 to 2, and then 2 to 2:30, and then that's it, and then if needed, if it's a nice enough day, they can go back outside. There will also be a canopy over the fence in case of any weather. If it's raining, obviously the dogs won't be out there for long. The canopy will be protecting them. If it's snowing, same thing. And also sun that will prevent hot spots getting on the dogs because that's an awful thing to go through for a dog. And that's pretty much the walkthrough of what I'm trying to create in this building.
Alright, so you think at any given time there would be 20 dogs?
So the max would be 35 dogs. So the front bay area is 1,125 square feet. And 15 dogs will be in there at a time. And then per every 750 square feet, only 10 dogs would be allowed in those pens. And for the outdoor space, it's 843 square feet, so only 10 dogs would be allowed outdoors at a time.
How do you get those dogs in the front pen out to the play area?
So we'd be rotating. So say if this group is in here for the morning part of the day, then 1 o'clock roams around, hits, they'll go out. And then 30 minutes is up, they'll come through, we'll take these dogs, we'll have like a 10-minute warning, be like, okay, like it's time, the next group is about to get ready to go out. We'll take these dogs and transfer them into this open pen that's open while those dogs are outside. Take these dogs by the leash and the harness, and we will transfer them into this pen. And we will have a staff member in the pen while another staff is running dogs into the pen. And then we will take these dogs and then transfer them into this pen. So then the dogs outside will have a pen always to go back into. So everything will, the front pen dogs will basically going through that big corridor hallway on a leash and harness, one at a time, getting loaded into a new pen to get familiar and to know that they're about to go outside for their 30 minutes ratio.
So on the eastern side, the 3 pens, each of those has a capacity of 10, and then the ones on the west, each of those has 15 capacity for 15.
Yep, so the front bay, that's just one big open space. So it's 1,125 square feet, and those there'll be 15 in that pen.
Okay.
And then the 2 back pens.
What are the dashed lines over there?
Those are the garages.
That's just the doors?
Yep, those are the doors, and then these dash lines you might be talking about from across pen, those are all emergency exits.
I see.
In case of an
And
emergency.
the same thing on the other side, those two
Yep.
large garages.
Yeah, those are just open bay windows. And it's nice too, because those will be locked obviously at all times, so the dogs can see, we'll have the one side glass where the dogs can see, where the people can see inside, but the dogs can't see out, because that would be a complication.
So do you have any plans for the exterior of the building at all? You could tell us about?
Yeah, so around the building, it'll start at one garage bay and proceed on to the next and then there. And we'll have 6 feet composite fencing all around. So the dogs can't see out and the people can't see in because that would conflict.
Where would that be?
In the back. In the back,
Oh, in the back.
yeah, where the 3 bays are.
Excuse me, can you just indicate where North Main Street is on that?
Yeah.
Where's the main road on that road?
Oh, it's in the front.
It's in the
here.
front,
Okay.
the front part.
Thank you.
Are you making any structural changes to the exterior of the building at all?
Just lighting.
Just outdoor lighting and cameras, obviously.
Okay. I know that this is. Obviously, it's a busy road. It's a commercially zoned area. It's a weird. Sunken in kind of.
Yeah,
place.
dynamic.
And it's, but it's right downtown, it's across the street from the common. So I think our purview is not necessarily the care and management of the dog and all of that stuff, but we have the board of health, and we're just looking at this from a what is the impacts from a zoning point of view. And one of the things that I get stuck on, and I don't know how to feel about, is the idea, understanding that it's a commercially zoned area, the idea of 10 dogs being in an outdoor setting is going to be intrusive even in a commercial setting. You know what I mean? Because that nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
Even when they're shopping, it just doesn't. So that's my principal concern, because that this area has been used for a business for a long time. There's the usual things that we have to think about in the traffic in, traffic out, that's sort of self-explanatory. For me, it's an outdoor pen, and how critical is the outdoor pen to your operation? It's like if you had no outdoor pen or you enclosed the pen.
I think it is just a little bit critical, just because dogs, I feel, get bored of their, basic routine. If they're just coming in and staring at, the four blank walls, there's gonna be more excessive barking, I feel, than worse if they're outside and getting some fresh air for at least that 30 minutes. And I think it'd be beneficial to them, because then they're, outside, they're adapted to the weather, they're getting tired, it's a new change of scenery. So when they're back in, they'll take a little rest and then we'll rotate, but it won't be like an all day thing where they can go outside like, oh, whenever you want. Like it'll be set times just for 30-minute periods of when they can and can't go.
But these are dogs.
Brian, I hear what you're saying. But also, being a pet owner too, and the fact this is so wide open back there, I don't see a lot of detriment to the outdoor space of the dogs. It is gonna be fenced. And the dogs need to go outside if indeed this is going in there. Just my humble opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it's a good idea for the dogs to go outside. I just disagree that there's the potential for 10 dogs barking. And that's not what necessarily would fit into the character of the neighborhood, understanding that it's a commercially area. It's 10 dogs barking, and what we say tonight is not necessarily the practices that would be maintained 5 years from now, when the dogs are out there all the time. And there's, so I'm concerned about that becoming because it's such a weird, I'm not, it's an odd shopping area. But it is also in the downtown area. And I was really hoping for some sort of aesthetics changes to the exterior of the building, so it just doesn't look like a kind of what used to be a limo place. There would be some sort of improvements to sort of make it fit into more of a business.
Well, it will look very boutique-y once it's done. I mean, we're gonna paint.
Yeah.
We are going to make it stand out like if this is a business, and it's a beautiful business, it's gonna be attractive. So when you're coming down Main Street, your eyes are gonna gravitate to that spot. It's not gonna look as it is existing now.
Oh, that's what I was asking about.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, put painting and stuff, just like little cosmetic things here and there.
So are the three garage doors, are the garage doors out front gonna stay?
I love the garage door look. I love it. I don't know why, I just love it. And I just think it gives it a different open feel space instead of everything being boxed in. At least you'll have some, light coming in. And that's exactly what we were trying to look for, because we've been in the process of looking for a space for the last year. Bella has been in the business herself. She's worked in doggy daycares. So she's seen the front of the office and the back of the place. So she really got a full take on running a business. And I love the open concept area of what she can do. It's not like every dog is going to be crammed in. They're going to have space to roam. They'll have activities within the space, such as like slides or
Sleeping mats.
Sleeping mats. It's going to be nice. It's going to be a very boutique place. I can tell you that. They're also in that plaza behind us is 2 dog businesses. You have a dog bakery, and you also have a dog grooming service that's within that plaza. I don't see any other type of, maybe I haven't really looked, like business that people would be like strolling in and out, or like a TJ Maxx or a, home goods that would really be, or dog that would be outside would be really like disturbing somebody. That whole structure there, I don't really see that. Maybe I haven't looked too much with that, but that's just, it's open space back there.
There's a pretty significant parking area.
Right, exactly.
Between where their outdoor space will be and the next shopping space. There's probably, 50 parking spots between where their fence would end up and like the next business. It's probably closer on the sides, but if you're looking at the building from the front, on the right side, there's a bit of a retaining wall. You'll mitigate some noise there. They'll have the fence on the left side. The other businesses, like sort of in line with where they are, so they're not out past where the fence is, and it's, their parking is out front. So it seems to me like the noise, the dogs are really gonna have to get going in order to bother the other businesses. And, like, it's like if you put like an air handler or something outside and you ask somebody to fence it in to help mitigate noise and sight, I think you're sort of doing the same thing here with fencing in the dogs, like.
We have your name also.
Sorry, I'm Sam Williams. I'm from Craft Architecture. I'm not architect.
For me, that's the impact, right? That's the impact to the, I don't know if you have something to add, Tim.
Yeah, so I just, the enclosure area in the back, so that's gonna be a fence and.
And there's
did you say
gonna be,
Privacy? on it?
yeah, so it's gonna be a 6 feet composite fence.
Oh, okay.
So no dogs can see
Did
in.
you say a canopy too?
Yeah, a canopy over.
Because there's a couple of businesses that do outdoor dining,
Mhm.
in the plaza. I think Devlin's does, and I think maybe one down a little bit. That's, I don't know if anybody's here from plaza businesses, maybe not. But that's what I was wondering, what kind of enclosure, so the animals aren't seeing people going by and, and maybe aggravating the animals. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, it's gonna be all composite fencing, white fencing, so the animals.
How high?
6 feet.
6 feet.
So the animals can't see out and the people are not getting disturbed by seeing animals playing outside.
See, there are 2 doors out there. Are they gonna be used?
Those are gates for just in case of emergency.
Yeah.
Oh, there's emergency exits. on.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Open to the public.
Does anyone have any input, comments, suggestions?
Love the idea.
What's your name and your address?
My name is John quickly, right? And, she's my daughter.
Oh, okay.
We'll buy it, it's the broad part.
All right.
Motion to close the hearing.
Oh, 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Tim, what do you, what's your take?
I kind of probably the same concerns that you had, as far as, blending in with the other businesses. I get it. There's other dog grooming places there and a bakery. I get that. I just, I was only thinking about the screening and so, not to kind of disturb the other business. It is it is a business there that's, the dogs are gonna get riled up. I get it, how noisy it's gonna be a disruptive, I have no idea. Nobody even came. I mean, this was advertised and everything for all the business to come in, to put their input in. I don't see anybody there.
Restaurant at the other end?
Yeah, there's a restaurant like to the back of that building. There's a restaurant probably like at 1 o'clock, right there. They do have outdoor dining.
And the hours that we're gonna be open.
It's gonna be 7 AM to 6:30 PM, but no dogs are gonna be allowed after dark, obviously outside.
There'll be no boarding, nothing like that, just strictly daycare. No grooming.
Is this something that you're proposing to lease or are you buying that building?
I'm leasing.
Lease,
The 5-year.
5-year lease, okay.
Is boarding an option in the future, or are you definitely not gonna?
No, I wouldn't put boarding because that complicates things, overnight with the noise, like we've discussed, and staffing. It's hard to find staffing right now, obviously. So I wouldn't do boarding. I wouldn't consider it.
Yeah, the only thing, and I'm just thinking about the other people is just what possible impact could this be? And that's the only impact, and it would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
It would, even though I don't live there, but if I was a business owner and every time I walk out, and it's already kind of a strange place and it's just making it a little bit more strange. You know what I mean? So I can't get past that. So if you could, help me at least, and everyone else probably doesn't care. It's just me. But
Brian, I gotta be honest with you. I mean, this is something I think will be beneficial to the town. And looking at the impact compared to other places it could go, having such that large parking lot and barrier there and fencing, I don't see a lot of impact to the businesses. I appreciate what you're saying. We try to keep the dog noise down, but I don't see that being a detriment. I really don't.
so that what we know from past applicants is large open spaces of what amplifies sound. You know what I mean? So it's, nothing's gonna mitigate this other than a privacy fence. And
With,
10 dogs that don't necessarily know each other gets out for the first time that day and they're all excited. You know, and maybe they smell the other dogs going to the groom, who knows? But to me, I need, for me, and I don't speak for everybody. I would like to know what options you have in terms of mitigating the sound from the exterior portion of the building. That's, to me, is the only impact that I can really think. You know, because you know your stuff, you thought about this, the property can accommodate parking and all of that, so if you could help get
Brian,
comfortable.
when we talk about noise mitigation, don't we use solid fencing, like the solid plastic fencing, to mitigate noise on other properties?
Well, sound walls are usually,
What's that?
those are for aesthetics. So sound would be structure. Sound would be something that absorbs it.
I would like to add, look, if the board's inclined to approve this, special permit, I think that they're also subject to zoning, complaints. So if they get in there and it's disrupting, you know, some of the tenants or whatever, and we get complaints, you're gonna have to keep an open mind to work with us, being myself and Amy, to maybe you reduce the amount of dogs outside at a time. But even with an approval from them, you're still gonna be subject to zoning, so we do still have some enforcement, you know, as far as disturbing. You know, if they're disturbing, we will reach out to them and work with them to reduce, you know, work together
Like, say the
to
dogs
keep,
can
yeah,
only
right.
go up this
We'll-
certain time.
Well, then that would be up to you, but we would just look to, you know, work out maybe, you know, what the complaint is.
Is
And,
there like a noise?
yeah, so whether it's noise or, you know, traffic or whatever, but we would be reaching out to you regardless of an approval here, you know, to satisfy whatever the complaint may be. So maybe it would be reducing the amount of dogs out at a time. I'm not sure what the complaints would be, but, you know, just so you know, you would still be subject to zoning regulation.
Yeah, no, of course,
Yeah. What kind of provisions like Tim have we done in the past? That we've done something like that, right? Where there's.
You're referring to enforcement conditions?
Yeah, like sometimes we have people come back after a certain number of months, or we have, like the person that came before us with 8 dogs, and then we said come back in 6 months.
Yeah, you certainly are able to place a condition, especially to start, maybe a 6 months, you know, review of how the business is going. But you also could do it if there's multiple infractions and, you know, it's been a concern of the building commissioner. You certainly can have them return over a number of times, but also Tim has that discretion as well, that if there's multiple enforcement orders issued, he could certainly bring that to the zoning board's attention and have them back before you without a condition.
I think that
If it's something that they weren't willing to work out with us, then I would have to bring them back in front of the board.
Yeah. All right. So then, just thinking through what that might be.
So Brian, to put some of the conditions like we did with the gentleman with the 8 dogs, that was a home that was I know it's kennel per se, but this is gonna be a commercial business. And in all fairness to the applicant, to say, come back in 6 months to see if we still approve it, that may be tough to do.
Yeah, well, you couldn't do that. These people are committing to a lease.
Yeah.
And they're here with a contingency, probably. They're not gonna sign a lease until they get an approval, so. I agree with you, Peter. I think we just, you know, we go on the, with the enforcement part and, you know, if they're not willing to work with us with a complaint, I would have to bring them back in front of the board, which.
Gonna be like any other business.
Yeah, they seem like they were definitely amenable to working with us, as far as any kind of complaints that may come up. And myself and Amy could work with them, certainly, you know.
So maybe then the language or of the condition would be up to 10 dogs. And then some, I don't know what the actual verbiage is, but that the building inspector has the authority to reduce the number of dogs that are outside based on enforcement needs, something like that.
Only if there's a complaint, right?
Right.
Only if there's
Yeah,
a
I'm not gonna
complaint.
come down there unless it's.
What you gotta do?
You got other things to do?
True.
I just had one quick question. Are you gonna be air conditioning this space? You won't need to have any of the doors open to get any airflow
Yep.
and stuff in there. and all
There
that.
will be
I know
heat.
some
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah, there's gonna be a havoc system with heat
Okay,
and AC.
awesome. Perfect.
Yeah, so I think that would be one of the requirements to keep the sound down, would be the doors are closed.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I actually, that brings up a question I do have. Waste management, how is that intended to be handled?
So
'Cause
each
obviously-
staff. Sorry, go ahead.
Obviously, we're gonna have some waste happening. And maybe I missed it in the beginning of the plan.
So each staff will have an apron tied around their waist with a poop bag. And our staff is really gonna just have to be on it. So if you see a dog, usually dogs tend to hoard around other dogs when they're going to the bathroom, just to see you get up all in their business. So it's kind of, easy to spot out. So the staff's gonna then have to go there, and they'll always have in the pens 222 disinfectant, which is vet recommended. And we'll have to spray that down so no diseases spread to other dogs, and then let that get up. And then the waste will be then put in a trash bag, and then if it's full, someone that is not in the pen could walkie-talkie or be like, this trash needs to be taken out, and then we'll have a dumpster too on site. So our trash is being taken out of the building into the dumpster every single night and every day.
I don't want that job.
I know. I had it for a very long time.
Just so you know, the dumpster will be placed, we were gonna place it in the front.
We were gonna kitty corner it in the
In
front,
the front
because there's
area.
parking spaces, and then it's kind of like a triangle where no one can park, so we were gonna kitty corner it.
Are you gonna cover that somehow? Is that? Just so it's not.
Yeah,
dumpster in the
Eyesore,
front,
yes, exactly.
or there'll be a fence around it.
Yep, we can do that, definitely.
So from North Main Street, that dumpster will or will not be visible.
It won't be visible.
Okay, thank you.
No one in public? No one online, Jim, no? No. All right, so I'll move to close the hearing. And Brian second. Oh, you second.
I seconded.
Okay, fair enough. All right, all in favor?
Right?
Aye. All opposed? All right. Discussion. We talked about it.
I feel like it's a good business to go in that area. As was mentioned, there's ample parking space. There's plenty of space also between this business and other businesses, and it goes really well with the bakery and the grooming service, right? Those are adjacent to each other, and this will be right across from it. I feel like it fits in that area. And as long as there are no complaints, I'm glad, Tim is here to reinforce the idea that should they be in, not meeting all the zoning laws, they can come back and we can discuss it then, but I feel like it's a good spot.
I agree.
I agree too. I mean, look, I think we'd all love to have them, have 5 acres of land out back, let the dogs run. We just don't have that. And I think it'll be an improvement to the situation we currently have there of a vacant building.
Oh, good.
Jim, so in terms of drafting a decision, you want to do this like we move that you draft a decision and then they come back and approve it, or should we just approve it? Because do we need to flesh out the conditions in terms of the verbiage, or what do you want to do? What do you think?
Well, it's up to the board ultimately. What I have for conditions right now, as stated, I believe 35 dogs max, or as stated in the application, 10 dogs outside at a time. Building commissioner may review and reduce that number if there are ongoing complaints, and fence/screening around the dumpster to properly screen from the public right away.
And also the rear fence, Jim? around the area where the dogs are gonna be out.
Rear fence, yep, okay.
Yeah. Anything else?
Do you feel like you got it? We don't need to, we can just,
If the board's comfortable with that, yeah, absolutely.
okay.
And probably a condition about the, Jim, do you already have it, the dumpster and the enclosure? Did you want that as part of?
Yep.
You got that too? Okay, so there's probably 3 things. Is that what you're thinking? Jim, 3?
Yep, yeah, and
Okay.
I can send it to you, Amy, obviously for
Sounds good.
review.
Yep, sounds good.
So just so you know, so any of the improvements in the building, just make sure that the subcontractors pull permits for it,
Mhm.
whether it's HVAC or any kind of construction that you may do.
Okay.
That would require a permit from a licensed contractor.
Okay.
If it's commercial. so.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cool. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to allow the permit, subject to the conditions that we've articulated.
I'll make a motion.
So moved and
Second.
all right, second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
Good luck, John. Thank you so much. So Jim, what are we thinking? Monday or Tuesday? I could file the decision? Is that what you're thinking, Jim?
Yeah,
That work?
that's a problem at all.
Okay, so we're thinking Tuesday, the decision will be filed 20 days from that, because there's an appeal period.
That's great.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna pass, actually, Brian will get you at the end of this. I think the only thing that's left are minutes.
That's it.
I think that's it.
Didn't we have one that we skipped over?
Yes.
That's right. I just see him here.
The first one.
Maybe.
I didn't see him. I guess I'll open it up.
I was just wondering, I don't see him on Zoom either.
No.
What address?
Would you think we should recommend continuing it until I can just contact him? Maybe he forgot, or do you guys, does that work?
Wasn't he traveling?
He was traveling, but I would hate to close it and not give him the chance to come back.
I'll move the.
Okay, we'll continue it till January 5th,
What's the address on that?
110 Florida Ave.
Okay.
Okay,
All those in favor? Aye. Closed, okay. Then I guess just the minutes. I don't know, it's a tiny typo, an extra U.
I'll let Laura know. What is it?
There's an extra U right over here.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Move 3 minutes slowly.
The Pats game's on, guys.
I didn't see anything.
Yeah, I read.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve the November 3rd.
With
I'll
the
second, there was
revisions.
a one thing. Tiny.
Yep.
All in favor?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Mark on.
You go. That's it.
Thank you.
See you, Jim. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Jen.
See you later, Jim.
Thanks, Jen.